Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are listening to us, welcome to the radio that still keeps the positive vibes alive. Remember, we have entered into the season of 40 days, also called the 40 days of answered prayers, also known as the 40 days of seeking God. Welcome to the month on the Hebrew God's calendar called the month of Elul, which is the 6th month. This month of Elul falls around the end of August and the beginning of September. Within this time, we enter into a season called Elul. The month Elul means to research, to do a research, or to search, or to inspect somebody's own characteristics. In this month, there is a Shekinah glory, in Hebrew known as the presence of Teshiva. The word Teshiva meaning to return back to God, or to turn away from evil, or to convert the evil incarnation that is contained within the human flesh. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, verse 6, and verse 7 talks to us about the land being without vegetation. It was wild, without any plant or agricultural civilization taking place in this place. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 7 says unto us, "And the Lord God formed the man out of the ground, and he breathed into his nostril the breath of life, and the man became a living being." Within this time, when God formed Adam, there was no vegetation growing in the place, because the place was barren, it was wild. For 40 days, Adam was with God, seeking God and learning from God. After 30 days from the time when God formed Adam, God started to plant the Garden of Eden. That's in Genesis chapter 2, verse 8. After the Garden of Eden was planted, 10 days from that makes it from the day Adam was formed to the time when he was commanded not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It was exactly 40 days. And God commanded Adam, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you may not eat of it, for the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. That was the first time the God from heaven who fellowshiped with Adam to teach him how to plant, to sow, and to reap and to collect, all of a sudden turns around and says, on the 40th day, the day of Yom Kippur, he says unto him, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you should not touch it. This was the tree of tithing. It was the tree of Teshuva. In Hebrew, the word Teshuva is called to return back to God. Man was put in the Garden of Eden to usually continually return back to God by giving the tree of knowledge of evil and good back to God through the principle of tithing. For 40 days, Adam sought God. And for 40 days, God came and taught Adam how to live. Literally, the 40 days was a time of fellowshipping between God and Adam. There was an intimacy bouncing back and forth, a relationship where certain information was passed on back and forth from God and back to Adam, back from Adam back to God. And the end of the 40th day, which fell on the day of Yom Kippur, God literally commands Adam to give his tithe. In the book of Malachi chapter 3, when you read from verse 8, God says, "Return unto me, because you have gone away from me." And they said, "How should we return? And how should we know what we should do to return?" And he says, "You have robbed me, this entire nation, but bring all thy tithes unto me, because you have gone away from me." The word Teshuvah in Hebrew, which is the month of Elul that contains the energies of Teshuvah. The word Teshuvah means to return to God. You find it in the book of Malachi chapter 3 verse 8, where it says, "Return unto me and I will return back to you." The word tithe comes from the word the 10 faculties or the 10 attributes that are contained in the human soul. The human soul contains 10 attributes, also known as the 10 faculties. In within that human soul, these faculties were given by God so that the human soul may exist in the body, and the body will practice a continuous ongoing behavior of bringing those 10 attributes back to God in the form of a principle called tithing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the month of Elul. The word Elul means to return back to God. The word Elul means to inspect our nature. The word Elul means to search what is that we contain in within our flesh and our behavior. What is that is concealed in within our physical behavior? The month of Elul is the month of answered prayers. Every desire, every prayer you are praying, every desire you want to bring to pass, every promise that God has promised unto you is going to come to pass, and in reality via these 40 days of answered prayer. I'll finish with this. Solomon comes to God, and God appears unto him, and he says, because you have come to pray to me, you have offered your burnt offering. Almost 10,000 burnt offerings were offered unto God by Solomon. And God says to Solomon, you've asked me for wisdom, but I will give you even riches that you have not prayed for. Because in the same month, after the 40 days of fasting and prayer, Adam received a Garden of Eden from God with the riches and wealth, and everything that God had formed and put in that garden was given unto Adam. God gave King Solomon riches and wealth in the same month and in the same time. So remember, your prayers that you're praying for, your promises God has promised you will come to pass, and those prayers will be answered through these 40 days of praying. Welcome to the 40 days of the month of Elul. Be blessed as your prayers get answered.